A couple of announcements for Seven Cobb comes up. Next week is a big week. As Ed Sullivan used to say, a pretty big week for the 220 Quarterback Club. The coolant facility will arrive Wednesday morning. By the time we finish lunch, it should be ready for us to go over and do a walkthrough and get some cool air. After all the hot air from me earlier that day, y'all can use some cool air. So remember, the cooling facility will be here next week. Coach Simmons will be here. Paul, the CEO of the cooling facility company, will be our keynote speaker. You remember Paul from last year pulling his shirt off, unfortunately, in front of the audience. Also, the football players, the team officially reports, I think, on that same day. But a lot of players have been here all during the summer, and they've been eating all during the summer. And our nutrition budget is going into a sharp decline. So we're going to kick off a little campaign next week. So if you could bring at least a minimum of $50 with no limit for the nutrition program, so we can get the year started off right. We're not in terrible shape. We just need to build it back up. I called a couple of old colleagues before I came over this morning, which is one of the reasons I was a little late, and got a $3,000 commitment from people who've given $1,000 to the nutrition program before, so I know they'll be good. Roosevelt Freeman, who's here from Jacksonville, drove all the way from Jacksonville, as he always does, brought a nice check with him. Where's Roosevelt? Where? Oh, he's over there. He's having some nutrition over there. You know, there was a big fundraiser in Jacksonville just a few weeks ago, and I know Roosevelt gave to that, but he saved a little change for the 220 Quarterback Club, brought a nice check. Mr. Norwood, I talked with your sister. She's sending a check for $1,000 for nutrition. And she told me to tell you that she expects you to do twice that. I already told her that you pledged 100. I talked with Ted Scott in Tampa, got the same kind of response. Somebody else bringing the $1,000, and I can't remember. I remember before the day is over. So we off to a good start. Roy, I know we owe you some money, but it's coming in starting next week. People, we need to give Roy Moore a little round of applause, not a big one, just a little bit. He's been extremely cooperative with us in terms of the nutrition. It goes a long way to have that kind of support. Let's see, what's else? Oh, I was just going to say I got an email from Coach Simmons, say he'll be here in 5 minutes, but I see the man of the hour has already arrived. Can I have a little applause for Coach Willie Simmons, please? To kick the year off in the 220 way, I have a little story, a quick story I want to tell you. We have this old FAMU couple who went to the doctor, and after some tests, the doctor said both of you are suffering from dementia. And on their way home, they were a little down, and the wife said, in order for me to feel a little better, so when we get home and write this down, because I don't want you to forget it since you got dementia, I want some chocolate ice cream on top of that chocolate ice cream, I want some vanilla. And on top of the vanilla, I want a cherry. She said, now write that down so you don't forget it. He said, I don't care what the doctor says. You want chocolate, then vanilla, then the cherry. I got it. Don't worry about it. So they got home. She went and got ready. He went in the kitchen. He came out a little later and gave her a saucer with 2 eggs and a sausage on it. She looked at him, shook her head, and said, oh, man, you forgot the toast. How was that, Leroy? You got to save that one for next week, Leroy. Yeah, we got to get moving before I forget the toast. Let's see, where's Selvin Cobb? Oh. Selvin Cobb, of course, you know, is the president of the Boosters, doing some amazing stuff. He submitted a proposal, or had the coach submit a proposal, Coach Forney, for some nutrition money for the other sports, primarily the other sports, basketball, baseball, and all the rest. And the athletic director was telling me that the emphasis we need to put on some of the smaller sports. And I told her we are going to continue only on football because football provides the dollars for the other sports. Without football, there wouldn't be any other non-revenue sports. So we're going to focus primarily on that. Selvin has promised me that if we get in a tight, he'll loan me some of that $25,000 he'll get from the boosters, right, Selvin? The president of the FAMU Boosters, Selvin Cobb.
Thanks, Eddie. Boy, I tell you what, I miss y'all. Y'all look good. You came out in good numbers today. Right quick, I'm just going to, I know I'm in before the coach, and you want to hear the coach. You don't want to hear me stand up here and ask you for some more money. But because I'm here and I got the mic, I'm going to ask you anyway. Let me tell you that the Rattler Boosters fiscal year starts July 1 and it goes to June 30. Now, if you have not paid your 23-24 booster dues, they are due now. You can see our chairman of our membership committee, Miss Hadley here, Melody Hadley, or you can see our money man in the back who's still writing checks and collecting money, Mr. Bill Woods. He's at the back table over there. So make sure you see one of those, or you can see me. We want to make sure that you get taken care of and you become a Rattler booster for the 23-24 fiscal year. Now, I just want to tell you just some of the things that the booster, what your money goes to. We started out the year raising money for video equipment and laptops and desktop computers for football coaches. We completed that project. We came back and we had about a $18,000 request from the track team. We did that project. We came back and we had a request for the Fang Day celebration for all the student activities. We fulfilled that request. Just recently, we fulfilled a request from the athletic director, where, as you know, the field is being named Ken Riley Field. Well, we're going to have Ken Riley Field on the scoreboard, but you're also going to have Ken Riley Field on the field. His name is going to be actually on the field. Boosters helped fill that request. We had another where we had what we call the Coach of the Year, where the coach that had the highest APR and won championship, it was named Coach of the Year. Well, Rattler Boosters filled that request. Just 2 weeks ago, we were talking, And we had found some money where the VP Sykes said that, well, I can use that to help fund coaches' bonuses. She says they hadn't been paid bonus. Some of them hadn't been paid their bonuses in 2 years. So, Coach, we helping to fulfill that request. So I just want to let you know, every dime that you give us, we give it back to athletics. None of all of us are volunteers. We are 100% volunteer organization. And our total existence is to support Florida Agricultural Mechanical University student athletes. That's our only reason for being. Now, we pretty much emptied our coffers for last fiscal year. So now we're almost starting with a zero balance. So I want to bring to your attention our Rattler Booster Kickoff. Now this kickoff, some of you may have some of the flyers here. Okay. I'm not going to go over the flyer. I just want to tell you, this is our biggest fundraiser. I need your support. For those folk that's out there that may not be able to make it up on the 27th, you can still help us. Send us a check. We're feeding our athletic teams, and the 3 athletic teams would be volleyball, track, cross country, and football. Not only just the football players, but we got a support staff. We got trainers and equipment people. They work very hard. And this is the time for us to show them some love. So we're going to show them some Rattler love, and also our athletes. We're going to love on them for 2 hours, August 27th, from 2 to 4 p.m. For those folks that's out there at Rattler Nation, you can send us a donation. You can write your checks out to Rattler Boosters, Inc., Post Office Box 5865, Tallahassee, Florida, 32314. And if you didn't write that down, I'm going to give you our website. Our website is famuRattlerBoosters.com. Go on that website, make your contribution. I'm going to thank you in advance for all that you're going to do for our student athletes. So now I'm going to hand this back over. I'm going to hand it over to the coach, but our Toastmaster, Mr. Jackson, want to say something right quick. I didn't, excuse me, in the back, there's a table where the person that's doing our tickets today is Sonia C. She'll be back there, and you can need some drink. You can see her before you leave to reserve your table. Table is $450 for VIP, $400 regular, and $50 for a ticket. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
I got it printed. You know, they all tell you about the internet, et cetera, which I know nothing about. So I had it printed for my friends and those who are as young as I. So you don't have to deal with the internet. And call me, I'll come to your house, wherever. So I want friends, I want you to buy.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Tommy.
Over there, if anybody needs to see the hotels.
Our head coach is getting a lot of. I promised Booker Daniels that I'd open the program with passing on his thanks to you guys. He's moved to Atlanta. He wants you to know that he misses the 220 quarterback club. He plans to continue to support it from Atlanta, but he just wanted to let you know, and he told me to open up the program with that announcement today. And And I forgot, Jared made me forget something. But Booker is he's tuning in. I told him to watch, and he'll hear us make that special announcement. And now, remember how they used to introduce Michael Jordan after they introduced all the other players? And they would say, and now, and now. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the man who over the internet this past weekend and in the media has gotten great reviews from the way he's handled our last situation. I don't know if he plans to talk about it. I just want to mention that his swift decision, his swift action, and the way the university responded, kind of led by Coach, was great way, and rattlers all over the country are feeling very good about that. And now, the head coach of the FAMU Rattler football team, Coach Willie Simmons.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. I echo Selvin's sentiments and say it feels so good to be back. It's been a while since we've been able to convene here at 220 Quarterback Club, and I missed you guys. So glad to see all the faces, all the familiar faces. Everyone looks great in their orange and green, Dr. Walker. So other than St. Clair, I don't know, he didn't get the memo. He's always doing his own thing, but good to see everyone. And again, it's been a great summer. The guys have been here, and again, I thank everyone for just again the donations to allow us to provide summer school for our student athletes. Obviously, we know how important that is. We submitted a request to Vice President A.D. Sykes over the spring, each sport, about how many student athletes we needed in summer school, and that amount was probably upwards of $500,000 for all of our student athletes. And so I think most sports were able to get the key ones that needed eligibility here, and we were even able to get some of the other ones as well. So we probably had about 90% of attendance for summer school. So that will go a long way. And again, can't thank you guys enough for that. I had a meeting. They had a meeting, I think, last week with Boudreaux about the cooling station. That should be delivered here next week. And so obviously we're excited about having that again. So again, thank you guys for that. Again, last year we cut our, post-practice situations, so to speak, down from probably over 30 and 21 to I think 2. I think we had two cramping type situations after practices last year, as opposed to the year before. I thought they were going to shut us down for a second because after every practice, guys were falling down left and right. And so again, that is a lifesaver, literally, for us as a football program. We were the first HBCU to have it. Not sure if anybody has followed suit, but again, it will definitely give us a great advantage to allow our guys to recover and to not break their bodies down so much, being that this feels like one of the hottest summers on record. I don't know the stats, but it feels like this is the hottest summer I've been, and I grew up here. So, but again, thankful for that, and we will look forward to that being delivered next week. So, obviously, Ed had mentioned the video. We can't talk much about the details, obviously, because we're doing an internal investigation within the university. But just wanted to again assure everyone that we're back to football operation. The decision by VP Sykes and I to suspend operations, was again to get out in front of things and start to really get our team back together. We met Monday morning as a team, and she was there, and so we're all on the same page. And so again, that situation won't have any, in my opinion, lasting impact on this season. Again, we're moving forward, and we're getting ready for training camp starting next week. We're a week away from reporting. Actually, I think we're reporting next Wednesday, and our first practice will be next Friday. So we're 7 days away from reporting. Our guys will come in, and we'll spend a day of meetings, hearing from everyone, from the president, hopefully, to some of his team, to Title IX, to housing, compliance, it. So that, you name it, we'll be meeting on it. So that first day is just a day full of information that we'll give. Most of our guys have heard it. They've been, here, they've heard all that, but we do have some new guys that will be here for the first time. So we'll just get them acclimated to the way we do things here at FAMU. That next day, on that Thursday, we're going to do a community service project, an event that morning. We're partnering with a couple of local schools, and the entire team will be out that morning doing some things out to give back to the community. So we're excited about that. The NCAA extended our training camp from 29 days in the last few years to now 31 days. We still only get 25 practices. And so we had an extra couple of days in there. So we're going to utilize those days to rest up, but also starting out to do some community service. So we're excited about that. And then our first practice will be next Friday at 8, I think about 8:20. We'll be on the field. So we'll try to get out there before the sun kind of gets directly over the top of us, and try to be off the field by 11 o'clock every day, as opposed to in the past, we kind of started around 10:20 or 10:30 and got off the field around noon. So just moving practice up a little bit, I think, will help with some of the heat-related illnesses that we've had in the past. So, of course, just got back from Birmingham yesterday. SWAC Media Day was all day yesterday. And, of course, if you tuned in or on the internet, you see that we have been selected as the preseason #1 team in the Eastern Division. And we also lead the conference in the amount of all conference preseason selections with 10. We have 7 first-team members, Jeremy Moose at quarterback, Jamarie Shareed at wide receiver, Jalen Goss and Cameron Coven on the offensive line, Isaiah Major at linebacker, and then Javen Morgan and Kendall Bowler at defensive back. And then we had 3 on the second team, Marcus Riley, wide receiver, Gentle Hunt at defensive line, and then Kamari Young at tight end. And so those 10 guys were preseason selections, the most of any team. And of course, quarterback Jeremy Musa was selected as the preseason offensive player of the year. And so again, a lot of preseason accolades, obviously. I don't think it's a secret that everyone knows that we have a really, really talented football team. And I think everyone is looking forward to seeing what we can do this year. And our guys are, again, just elated to be able to hit the field. It seems like it's been a long time since the spring game, and we're ready to play some football. I know you guys are ready to see some football. So we're gearing up, and I think it's going to be a year for the ages. We are finishing up our strike tour. Our last stop is tomorrow. We're going down to Fort Lauderdale. Went to Jacksonville a couple of weeks ago. Left Jacksonville, flew over to Houston, had a fundraiser over in Houston, and then drove up to Dallas, not necessarily as a fundraiser, but met some key alum and just did a lot of networking, and came away from that with a lot of opportunities to help this team. And that's something that we're really excited about. So we'll make our last stop in Fort Lauderdale tomorrow, and then we'll gear up for the season. But aside from that, again, just, most of the guys are here. We have a couple of guys left that are finishing up some classes at their previous institutions to make sure that they're eligible and meet all their progress towards degree requirements when they come. And so once they finish those up, they'll be here in the next couple of days, and then we'll be able to report to training camp with a full roster. So excited about the ones that are here. Really good looking football team. We are in the process of finalizing our hire for a special teams coordinator. So we have identified the individual. We're just going through the HR process with that. And then also with Coach Billy Rowe, who retired. So he'll probably be sitting here with you guys on Wednesdays afternoons now, heckling me, asking questions about the game. So, but we had to fill his spot as well. And we've already identified the individual, and he's here with us. It's just a formality, a matter of getting over the HR paperwork with him as well. So we'll have a full staff and be ready to roll. And again, I'm just so elated and excited about this season. So again, just wanted to come and give an update and definitely answer some questions, as always. And then, Ed, if there's anything specifically that you wanted me to address, we definitely can address that. So that you have to.
What about land? What is going to Dallas, Somerset? What's new with land?
Okay, so obviously, of course, this past spring, Isaiah asked about Isaiah Land. So this past spring, we had two guys off last year's team, Isaiah Land and Xavier Smith, get picked up in free agency after the draft. Xavier Smith with the Los Angeles Rams, Isaiah Land with the Dallas Cowboys. So they both made it through minicamp, through OTAs, and then that's that rap music that we're talking about right there. See, just can't get away from it, huh? So Xavier, they all just reported back. So I think all NFL minicamp or training camp started, I think, on Monday, on the 24th. So Xavier's back out in Los Angeles, and of course Isaiah's back in Dallas. And so again, I've seen a couple of articles written on Isaiah, much as they were with Marquise last year. So they're really excited about what he's been doing. I had the opportunity to speak to one of their coaches about a month or so back. His son is a rising prospect, and so he called me about recruiting his son, and I just asked, hey, how are my two guys doing? And gave Raven reviews about Marquise, but also said Isaiah was doing an extremely good job. So, he played primarily defensive end for us, but with the Cowboys, they're playing them off the ball on the second level, so they're getting them acclimated to playing linebacker, and so that's a little bit of an adjustment for him, but he's working extremely hard at it. He's doing well. The coach's direct quote was, "We know he can rush the passer, so we want to see him play in space." And so they're giving him an opportunity to do that. So we feel really good about his chances to hopefully make the squad and, kind of have the same impact that Marquise had last year. Marquise was able to play, I think, every game on special teams, even made some big plays in the playoffs. And they're really excited about his future there. And I think Isaiah will be able to follow in the same footsteps. And Xavier, again, is doing a really good job out in LA. So got three guys right now in NFL rosters, which is, again, a huge accomplishment for us. And I think we have some guys on this year's team that will continue that trend. So, we're excited about the progress we're making. A lot of that, again, goes back to the nutrition. Guys have to have the ability now to get bigger, faster, and stronger while they're in college, so that when the pro scouts come, they look like pro-rated guys. And that's something I think that's really, really important. So, don't ever underestimate the what your hard-earned dollars do for these student athletes. I mean, it gives them a chance to really, really accomplish their goals of, graduating and playing professional ball and, even going out to get jobs because of the career development things we're able to do. So it takes a lot to run a program. Education is first and foremost, obviously, but that education doesn't just stop in the classroom. It's educating them on everything that they have to do to be successful men in life, and your support directly helps that. So, but right now they're doing really, really well. Well, we addressed the running back situation this spring. We brought in two transfers, Jaquez Yant, both local guys, thankfully, but Jaquez Yant transferred from Nebraska. And of course, if you saw the spring game, you saw him. He's a big 240+ pound running back that can run, got really good feet, good balance. He's a bruiser, and he's going to be a weapon for us this year. And then Kevin Dean, who's also a local guy, went to Rickards High School, transferred to us from Florida Atlantic. And so both those guys are here doing well. We also signed Bo Somerset from North Fort Myers, who is a very, very dynamic player. And then we have some other guys as well who have a chance. So Leland Wilhoit, Rashawn Quinn, Kevin Sawyer. We have some guys in the backfield that can make some plays. And so with them, along with the offensive line additions that we made, I feel really good about our ability to run the football this year. Yes, sir, boss.
I worked during the summer, in a little summer program, so I get a chance to eat with football players. The kids from Oklahoma.
We got a couple. Oh, okay.
I don't remember the name.
Morgan Moore.
He should be playing a lot of people.
So Morgan Moore, yes. Morgan's the offensive lineman from Oklahoma. Played last year, started probably half the games at guard for us last year. And we anticipate him, being right there in the mix. The good thing, well, it is a good thing. I will say that. The good thing is there's still some positions that haven't been decided because there's so much depth at those places. And offensive line is one of those spots. Coach has his hands full. Coach Henry has his hands full trying to figure out who the best 5 will be. And we have, I mean, they're going to be, I think we're bringing 19 or 20 to training camp, which is the most we've ever brought. But of those 20 guys, I mean, there are probably 12 that can start for a lot of teams in our conference. And so there's going to be some fierce competition there. And Morgan will be right there in the mix. The good thing about Morgan is that he can play guard or tackle. He's a versatile guy. And his motor never stops. I mean, if you watch us in walkthroughs, he's full speed. He comes off the field and walkthroughs sweating like he's been out there plowing fields or something. I mean, he's just one of those type guys. I'm sure he can. So, but no, Morgan is we're excited about him. But Big Cardell Thomas, you know, he's here now. The 5-star transfer from LSU, he's here. He went through walkthrough this morning. So, you know, looking forward to seeing what he can do. Cesar Reyes is back from last year. You know, he tore his ACL the first game, but he's another 6'5", 315-pound lineman that transferred from South Florida. Ashton Grable, you know, Jonik Ogunlade. I mean, we're loaded up front. So gonna be a lot of competition. So between those guys and the running backs, I really, really feel that we'll be able to run the football the way we have, you know, the way we need to open up our offense. Yeah. I know you like that, don't you? Yes, sir. Well, yeah, competition drives us all. You know, that's the big thing about it. You know, when you have that guy that in it, you know, whether it's battling injury, you know, if you know that the guy behind you can't play that much, you know, you tweak, you know, you get a little tweaks, you might sit out because, you know, I'm getting my job back as soon as I come back. But if you know that guy's breathing down your neck, it's going to force you to come on back a little bit sooner. So, but at running back, we're that way. At wide receiver, we're that way. On offensive line, at linebacker, we're really, really deep football team. So I'm excited. I've never been this excited about a football team coming into the season. We still got to gel. My biggest challenge, and I've spoken with the team at length about this. My biggest challenge I've talked to coaches across the country. We're in a generation now where everything is given immediately. Okay. And I don't mince words when I say that. It's not y'all's fault. It's your sons and daughters' fault because they're the ones that, and I'm guilty of it as well, because we're the ones that's raised our kids and we've gone off to college because of the job that y'all have done and y'all have provided a lifestyle for your kids. They've gone on to do great things and they've been able to give their kids things that we didn't get. And so now they don't know how to fight or struggle for what they get. Right. And I tell people, and I tell my coaches, I even tell my wife, I said, when I grew up and with Miss Sharon right here, one of my mom's best friends worked with her. You know, I was a 4.0 student and growing up in middle school, elementary, middle, and high school because I had to be, because that was the only choice, because you can do that. That's what you're going to do. So I didn't get rewarded for making good grades. I never got to go on a field trip. I never got to experience things because I made good grades. The mandate was you make good grades because you're supposed to make good grades. And so now we're in an age, and again, I'm guilty of it because our son was able to take trips when he made good grades. He made a 4.0. He got to take a trip to Puerto Rico. He got to go to all these different places that I never got to do. And so our challenge is coaching a generation of young men who want it right now. I can read a text to you of a conversation I'm having with one of our freshman receivers on the way over here about that very thing, because we're just in this entitled age to where they just think that things are just supposed to happen, that they're supposed to walk in the door and get the jersey number they want. Like we had 100-some players that were here already who had that jersey number. You had made one catch, one tackle on one pass, but you think you're supposed to get that single-digit number that somebody else already has. It's not a number that's available. You want me to take the number off somebody's back and give it to you. And that's what we're dealing with. So, you know, aside from things such as what we went through this past weekend, which is very rare. Like, we rarely have issues like that within the team. We got really, really good guys. But we have a group of guys who we have to make understand the team concept. They have to understand that FAMU is bigger than any individual, that the football program is bigger than any individual. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than anybody. And so, we've had we've had one guy transfer out of the program. We've had, things of that nature. But again, at the end of the day, on September 3rd, we're going to line up with 11 guys wearing orange and green. And if we can all take pride in wearing that orange and green together, we're going to be a dangerous football team. I don't think anybody that we play this year, definitely within our conference and our outer conference, will be able to play with us if our guys truly understand that. So the next 31 days, or not next, but when we hit training camp on the 2nd, those 31 days, that's going to be our mission, to develop the closest team, a team full of humility, a team who understands what FAMU is all about, what understands what being a part of this team is all about. And that's the challenge for us. And so everything that we've dealt with over the last really 6 months has been a result of that we just got to reel some guys in, make them understand that every decision I make affects not only me, but everybody on this team and everybody who loves FAMU. And so that's my challenge. We'll know the plays. We're going to be big, fast, and strong. We're going to be explosive. All those football-related things we're going to be able to do, and going to be able to do them at a very, very high level. We're deep at every position. We got really good players at every position. The question is whether those players can truly gel together and be the closest team that we can be. And if we do that, again, the sky's the limit for this team. So I'm excited about that. But that's where we are. So I'm gonna get to you. I know you're gonna. Come on, Tommy.
What I want to say, I don't think I'm fighting you because I've listened to you about discipline and that kind of thing. You're right. I told my son something's in the water, and my kids too, that they just different. But the one thing in sport, in teaching period, don't have any rules if you're not going to enforce them. And what you tell them up front, what your rules are, and make it clear to them. Unfortunately, you may have to test one of your great athletes. And once you show that you follow the rules, you won't have no problem. I worked with at-risk for 17 years here and 8 years in New York. And you gotta be legal.
Yeah, no,
they expect, just like you said, they think they can get away. When we had dress codes, my star player came and didn't have the dress. I didn't say a word. I just gave the starting five. It didn't include him. I didn't have him. You have to do that with these kids. They think they can get away fine. But again, I will say to you, I've been impressed with listening to you in terms of you get it. You understand that if you let them get away, then you might as well forget about it, because all of them going to do it because they're watching.
Yeah, and you're spot on. And so the challenge obviously is, like you said, it's consistency in the messaging, right? And in the discipline. And so because we're not the only ones who have our hands on them, sometimes that becomes a problem. Because if they know that the only time I'm going to be held to that standard is in the field house, but I can go across campus and I can get away with showing up 5 minutes late, or I can make this excuse as to why I missed this meeting, or just let me make it up, then that's what happens. So you got to develop that consistency in the messaging and the discipline that, hey, here's the standard, here's the mandate, and it's non-negotiable. And so we're working through that. And again, we have great partners across campus, and our academic support staff and all those other areas that we're trying to continue to drive the message home that accountability has to be at the forefront across the board. And you heard Jeremy Musa talk yesterday in his role as a leader. That's what he's trying to stress. He's trying to stress the leadership from his teammates to make sure that we hold our teammates accountable. Quick story, I was up in the CAF, I don't know if it was last Wednesday, I think it was last Wednesday, and saw two of our players, and they're both transfers and both transfer from the same school. Well, we have a rule here that we don't wear any other team's gear. No other team. So I don't care if you transfer from wherever, you don't wear that anywhere around here. And so sitting there, and they come walking in, and he's got on clothes from his previous institution, top to bottom. Okay. One, it wasn't Nike. So that's the first problem. But again, it goes against our rules. And so I called him over and I said, hey man, what? He said, well, coach, I ain't having any clothes out. I said, well, you better go figure it out. But I told him, I said, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at him for walking in here with you, with it on, because that's the accountability. So it's not just the one guy who's not living up to the standard. It's his teammate who's sitting right there with him that's allowing him to do so. Because if I'm the teammate and I know the rule is don't wear, I'm like, hey, bro, you can't come to camp with me with this on. You better go back to your room and put on a white tee and some jeans or something, but you're not going to wear someone else's stuff in our facility because that's our rule. So it's accountability. And again, you know, talking about the entitlement, but we're also in a generation where it's increasingly difficult for guys to challenge their teammates, to challenge, because again, they don't like to be coached. They don't by their brothers. They don't like to be challenged by their peers. And so that's a challenge for our seniors and for our leaders to be willing to tell their teammate that they're not doing it right. But the challenge is also for the teammate to receive the message and not be so defensive, right? We got a lot of defense. You see a guy, he gets real defensive when his teammates tries to correct them on something that he's not doing right. And so again, it's a new, kind of generation, and the way college athletics is changing with things like the transfer portal, things like name, image, and likeness, it's making it more and more about me and less about the team. Because if I know I can go out and make money now doing things outside of football, well, where's my focus? Is my focus really on practice, on playing in games and doing well, or is my focus on going out here trying to solicit all these businesses to give me NIL money? And that's a real challenge that we're facing, even at our level, even at places like Florida A&M. That's what we're facing. And so, when you talk to coaches across America, and we do all the time, a lot of us are concerned about the direction that college athletics is heading in. Not because they're getting money. I love the operative fact that they can now, benefit. I wish I would have been able to benefit from it. All the speaking engagements I did, playing college ball and all that, I wish I could have put some money in my pocket. But that's becoming the emphasis for a lot of people, and it's taken away from that concept of team, where you see schools like, even at the highest level, schools like Notre Dame, USC, I think even Penn State, they don't put the names on the back of their jerseys. They don't. If you watch Notre Dame football, they do not put the name on the back of their jerseys. Neither does USC, because they say this brand is bigger than any individual, right? And so it kind of just keeps that message consistent. Not saying that that's right, wrong, or different, but the message is, for them, the brand is bigger, the school is bigger, the team is bigger than any individual. And that's what we're battling now within our profession. So, but we got a group of coaches who understand that, a support staff that understands that, and we're working hard to continue to give them programming, continue to educate them, and continue to remind them of why this game is still what it is. And as long as we can keep that the main thing, I think this game is going to go on for a very long time. But if we don't kind of put a stop to some of the things that are happening, or halt them or tweak them, it'll get out of control, and we won't really like the product that we're seeing on the field in a few years. Hold on real quick. Good to see you.
I've been scheduled for surgery, and they keep pushing it back. So I told the cardiologist, I told the neurologist, y'all messing with football season? I'll see y'all in January, because I ain't having no surgery. Don't bother me this time of the year. So, with that being said, y'all better get right this year.
Tell them they can't schedule it till December 19th.
You better bring your A game, because I'm not putting no surgery for no foolishness.
That's right.
Coming out there. I'm tempted to go up there in that field house, but I believe that alone. One other thing. Tell your boss or whoever up there, get the hard copy schedule ready on time. We need them. Them people across the track over there, when their season is over, that January, they got their schedules ready. we need to have the schedule in hand. I'm kind of trying to figure out how to go on this thing and look it up. So let's get it together.
Okay, I'll relay that message.
Thank you. That's all for right now.
All right. Gotcha. So yeah, well, but I'll definitely relay that. As far as the schedule cards, I know they used to make the smaller schedule cards. So I think, well, the posters, I think they're probably usually waiting until media day. I think they want to give the ones who show up for not media, fan day, give them the first opportunity to come and get them signed. But I think those will be dropping pretty soon. But the schedule cards, I will check to see what the release date for those will be. Yep. Yes, sir. Yeah, so as far as we always try to bring back people to talk to the players. I mean, we've had Tony Ezell, we've had Wally Williams, even guys from the 78 team, Albert Chester, Coach Ken Riley came and spoke to the team our first year. So I try as much as I can to get the older snakes to come up and talk to the guys about what it means to be a Rattler football player. And I think that's important. They understand the history, they understand the tradition, because we've kind of shifted a little bit of our recruiting model the last few years, and we've taken more transfers than we have in years past. I think what that does is you bring guys who have already been a part of a college program. They don't quite understand our way, and so we got to show them the way. Whereas you bring a high school guy in, he's going to try to do whatever he can just to be a part of something. So, but yeah, we try to do that. But as much as we can, we'll do more. Yeah, so I know that's been something that we've been trying to work on. I know there's some forms and things of that nature that have to be signed to become mentors and things of that nature. But yeah, I would love that as well. But there's a process that I'm unfamiliar with that has to take place before people can volunteer and be able to help out in the academic capacity. Yes, sir. So as far as the certification, so what VPAD sites did, and definitely with the help of the administration and increasing our compliance department, a lot of our guys were certified as soon as spring practice. As soon as the spring semester ended, anyone who didn't need summer school, they've been certified already. And so the only ones that we're waiting on are guys who need summer classes to finish up summer classes to get their eligibility. So when that gets done, as soon as grades drop, sometime next week, they'll go ahead and certify the rest of them. So we won't have any certification issues. The problem last year was that we waited until the week of to try to certify 120 guys. And that's just a lot to process in a week. Whereas if somebody's out, something gets held up, and it was a debacle. So we got that part fixed. Again, thankful to the administration for recognizing, the timeliness of how that needs to be done, but we don't have any certification issues this year. The date for Fan Day is, I think it's 17th. I think it's August 17th. It's on a Wednesday. I'm not sure, but I'll double check that and I'll relay that information to Eddie.
Is it Wednesday evening and not during the day?
I'll check the time, Dr. Walker, and make sure.
Just to be clear, all of the players who will be playing this season already certified as eligible.
So everybody who ended the spring semester without needing any extra academic work to be eligible have already been certified. The only guys who currently aren't checked to be able to compete today are the ones who are taking summer classes to meet that. So some guys may be 3 hours short of meeting their progress towards degree. Some guys may need a class to get the GPA up to the right level to meet the NCAA requirement. So half of our team, at least half of our team, has already been certified because they didn't need summer school. The other ones who are in summer school who need it, they'll be certified as soon as grades drop. we go through and make sure that they need to get, past this one class with a C or better. They got a B, they're certified. So again, we're way ahead of, we're doing it now the way it should be. And again, that's a testament to our administration. But yeah, I don't foresee us ever really having to worry about a certification issue again. I think that was just kind of a one-off situation where it was kind of the perfect storm. We didn't really have a compliance staff. And it's really hard when you don't really have a compliance staff at the time. I think we had one person in compliance, whereas now I think we have 6. And so we're so much further ahead than where we've been in the past. But that won't be an issue for us again. Certification won't be an issue. It may be something else, and we got to prepare for anything else. Maybe a gospel video next time. But I wanted that a bit bad if it was a gospel video. That's what I'm asking myself. If it was a gospel video, would we be upset? So, but no. But it's always, again, adversity is part of life, and we're gonna definitely move forward and keep growing. So. But no, we won't have certification issues again. Yes, sir. So physicals have pretty much already been done. So the way basically the newcomers have to get physicals, but they've already gotten them to be able to work out in the summer. Returning guys is basically a check off to where once you get a physical, you don't have to. It's not the old school days. You got to get a physical every year again. You get one. Now it's just more of a check to make sure that everything is consistent, and then you're cleared. So, but all of our guys that are currently here working out, they've already been cleared from a physical standpoint. So we won't have an issue with physicals either. Yeah. So I don't anticipate any problems with anything. Right now when we leave, I got about 80 things I got to go through and check off to make sure guys have done that, which they've done, and so that we're a million miles ahead of what we've been in the past. Same thing. So any newcomer has to come in with a new physical. If they're here working out now, that means they've already gotten it. They would not have been cleared to work out, to receive gear, to do anything unless they had a physical. So when they come in, they get that physical, EKG, blood work, the whole 9. They're cleared the practice, and they're good to go. So yeah, we don't physicals aren't going to be an issue for us. Yes, sir. He put his mask on. That means he's done. Well, again, penalties are always something we address, and I say it every year. I'm not looking at the penalty yards. As crazy as that may sound, I don't look at penalty yards. What kind of penalties are there? Okay, because at the end of the day, if we got 50 yards in penalties, which if you say that's a good number, and we're in the 4th quarter, and we bust the coverage, and they're about to throw the ball deep to score, cornerback tackle him, and you will get a pass interference call, and we'll have 65 yards of penalties at that point, and I'll come in and say, Coach, we got a whole bunch of penalties. Well, you glad we got that last one, right? Or they would have scored. So I don't mind any penalty that happens while the play is going on. Holding is going to occur in football. Hands to the face is going to occur in football. Pass interference is going to occur. Those are penalties that it's going to happen. If you're an offensive lineman and you're trying to strain to block a guy and your hand is right here, eventually it may slide up and get underneath his face mask. If they call it, they call it. I'm not going to go crazy over a hands to the face call. What I will go crazy over is a false start. That's a penalty that happened before the ball was snapped, and all sides. That happened before the ball was snapped. A personal foul. That happened when the play was over. Taunting, excessive celebration. Those are undisciplined penalties. So to me, I don't ever get on the guys about penalties that occur while the play is going on. Pre-snap penalties, post-whistle penalties are the only ones I care about. So if we lead the conference in penalties, but they're holding, pass interferences, hands to the face, I'm fine with that. But if they're unsportsmanlike, because that a sportsmanlike, if you get the defense is on the field and we stop them and now it's 4th down and somebody gets unsportsmanlike, that's a 1st down. You gave them a whole new set of downs. That gets you beat. If it's 4th and 2 and the defense jumps off sides, you've given them a 1st down without them even having to snap the ball. That stuff gets you beat. A pass interference typically ain't gonna get you beat. A holding typically ain't gonna get you beat. So when we say we're penalized, I don't look at the penalties. I look at the type of penalties. There were some, and we chart that. So when we say we want to win the penalty battle, our guys know what we're talking about. And when we charted ourselves last year, we won it. I think in 8 of the 11 games, we won the penalty battle. Now, we might have been one of the most penalized teams in football, but they were penalties that occurred because we're straining and playing hard. And when you strain, sometimes you're going to get a hands to the face. Again, and I use the comparison all the time. And when I grew up here, I grew up during Florida State's heyday when they went 13 straight years of top 5 finishes. Every year they led the conference in penalties. Every year. Every single year they led them in penalties. But they were the right kind of penalties. And so there's a bad penalty. I don't want to say a good penalty, but there's a penalty that I'll take and I'll say, you know what? I'll take that one. If my right tackle gets smoked and Jeremy Moosa's about to get killed, hold him, please. I'll take that 15 yards before I take the preseason offensive player of the year being carted off the game. So I get it and I understand the sentiment about, but if we score a touchdown and you see them throw a flag because we're celebrating, you're going to see me cut up on the sideline because that's a selfish penalty. We jump off sides and we false start, that's a penalty where we're not focused and locked in. So those are the penalties that I care about. If you're holding a guy, that ain't because you're not focused. That may be because your technique might be bad, and we'll address the technique and practice the next day. But I'm not going to get mad about an in-play whistle. I get mad about the ones that happen after the play's over.
How concerned are you if the penalty that would have had any effect on the play? If the running back is
What, so though, again, but those are, so if the ball's ahead of you and you go block a guy behind you, yeah, same thing. Like that penalty doesn't affect the play. That's just a bonehead penalty. That's a selfish penalty. So now you're just trying to wipe somebody out being selfish. So again, a play that happens throughout the course of a game that is a normal football play, a holding, a pass interference, a hands to the face, even a low block, a chop block, those type of penalties are going to happen. But it's the ones that have nothing to do with the outcome of the play that I have a problem with. And so it's hard to kind of gauge that because a penalty is a penalty, right? I think I was, and Tommy will appreciate this being a basketball guy. I think it was Draymond Green or somebody talking about guys in basketball not shooting the ball late. Like if the clock's running down, the quarter's about to end, and you hadn't crossed the half court, they won't even shoot the ball. They don't want to mess up their stats. That's selfish. Because I want a high 3-point shooting percentage, so I'm not going to even shoot this bad shot because it's probably not going to go in. So selfishness, we're not going to deal with. If you're playing football and you get a penalty, deal with it. But if you do something, well, Curry will shoot anyway. but some of the guys, but it's just the mindset. That's what I'm saying. It's the mindset now. Guys are thinking more about their personal stats than they're thinking about the team. Because a 1 in 20 chance this ball goes in, it might be the difference in the game. But again, so when it comes to penalties, like I said a million times over, I'm more concerned about what type of penalties we get more so than the number of penalties we get. Yeah, so we did lose one. We lost one to the transfer portal. He transferred to an FBS school, and we wish him well. We wish him well. Again, I told him before when he entered the portal the first time, if you choose to leave, I mean, he graduated. He fulfilled his requirements to FAMU. He graduated. He has his degree, and at that point, if you feel like you need to go and take your talent somewhere else, I support you. My job is to coach the 120 that show up next week, or 110 next week, 120 when school starts. But we're going to coach the guys in orange and green, and that's my focus. So anybody who, feels like FAMU isn't the program for them, we wish them well. But again, we're not going to, again, I love all my guys, even the ones I don't coach anymore, but no one player, no one coach, no one is bigger than this program, not one person. Because if Eddie hits the Powerball and says, Coach, here's $20 million, go on vacation on September 2nd and I go, it wouldn't happen. That ball's still going to get kicked off in Miami. And somebody's going to coach the team. It may not be me, but somebody's going to coach the team. So even me, I'm not bigger than the program, no coach, no player. The guys that play in orange and green, as long as we're playing for FAMU, we're going to be all right. So the good thing about it, is that we got a lot of really good football players, and we're not in a position to where one player getting injured, one player quitting, one player transferring is going to derail this team. That's why you recruit. That's why you ask for good facilities and resources and things of that nature, so you can bring good players in, so that if somebody leaves, so that we're not panicking because we lost Isaiah Land to graduation or Xavier Smith to graduation. They kept asking me that question yesterday. How are you going to replace Isaiah? How are you going to replace Xavier? It's called recruiting. You got to recruit somebody, right? You got to develop the next person. You know, if Eddie decides, you know what, I need to go home and rest, me and Miss Jerry gonna go on a 2-month long vacation. Is the 220 Club gonna stop? I hope not. So I hope Eddie grooming somebody to be here in this place when he decides to take vacation, right, and not have to shut it down. It's the same thing in football. We're gonna roll between you and Dr. Walker. We're gonna make this thing roll. And so, but it's the same thing in football. Every year you're gonna have attrition, whether it's through graduation, through transferring, through injury. You're gonna have guys leave your program. The great programs, you're gonna have coaches leave. Nick Saban has an entire new coaching staff than what he had when he got there. I don't think there's one coach who's still on his staff from the first championship, but it doesn't change. There's only 2 coaches left on my staff who were here, well, 3. There's only 3 coaches left on my current staff that were here with me in 18 when I got here. 1 left and came back. And so there's only 2 coaches who've been with me the entire 6 years. And we've been able to sustain success because of how we run our program. And I think that's what's important. So, you know, whether a guy transfers or not, I don't think that's going to kill us, so to speak. Is it possible for walk-ons to do what exactly? We have walk-ons. We just, at this point, can't take any more because we're at our max capacity roster size. Yeah, so the next project, Selvin's going to be a locker room extension and add more lockers so we can bring more players on. But right now we literally got guys on top of each other in the locker room, so we can't afford to bring any more players in. We don't have the space for them. Like, once you run out of space and equipment, you got to shut it down. So I know there are a lot of guys that want to be a part, but right now we just don't have the space. We got 100 right now. We got 128 guys on our roster, and we got 105 lockers. And so, as you can imagine, some guys are sharing lockers, and you don't really want that.
What's your policy on going into the portal and coming back?
Policy on going into the portal and coming back. I think it's a case-by-case basis. I try my best to be an understanding coach, and I understand that, you know, 18 to 23-year-olds are going to make some rash decisions, right? They're not as calculated as we are. You know, I'm not as calculated as you guys are. Y'all have lived life. So you've weighed a lot of consequences you made and be like, you know what? Next time I need to think maybe twice, 3 times, 4 times before I do this. They don't, because they hadn't had the failures that we've had. They hadn't experienced the downturns that we've had. So they just do stuff. They're just still trying stuff. So I try not to overreact if a player who's, you know, to 2 situations, the last 2, Isaiah Land. I knew Isaiah Land's goal was to play in the NFL. Everybody knew that. So when Isaiah Land sat there at Marquise Bell's draft party, a guy that we all thought would get drafted, I don't think there's a person who played with Marquise, coached Marquise, saw Marquise that didn't think he was going to get drafted. And when we sat there for 3 days and watched name after name get called, and his name doesn't get called, that does something to you. So there was that moment of doubt in his mind to say, is it because he's at FAMU or at an HBCU? Because that's the narrative that's kind of floating around. So he hears the narrative, he sees the evidence. So that next day he entered the portal. And he said, Coach, I want to play in the league. And I said, Isaiah, I understand that. And so he flirted around for about a week or so, and then he came back and said, I'm going to return. So if I had an ironclad policy that you go in the portal, you ain't coming back, we don't have Isaiah Land last year because he entered the portal. When Kamari Stevens entered the portal, it was the exact same reason, because we all thought that Isaiah Land would get drafted. Went to the Senior Bowl, did a great job. Went to the Combine, did a great job. Had 25 scouts at Pro Day, did a great job. Pick after pick after pick after pick, he doesn't get drafted. So he did the exact same thing. Well, we allowed him to come back. Well, then he in turn entered the portal again. Now, the second time, I didn't. When he entered the second time, I said, well, no, we wouldn't allow him to come back. And he had no intention to come back probably anyway, because we never even talked once he entered the portal. And so I think it's a case-by-case basis. I just don't think you can be in a situation where you say, ironclad, you enter the portal, you're not coming back. Because you may very well lose out on a player who really wants to be here, but just test the waters. I mean, I equate it to, you know, you've been married for 20 years, 30 years, and been that same man, same woman for that long. Sometimes you just want to go to the club and just see how many numbers you can get, right? Yeah, I just want to test the waters. I ain't going nowhere. I'm coming back home, but I just need to test the waters. Because I'm going to show her. Because I'm going to come back to the house. I'm going to throw all these numbers out, like, keep talking. See all these phone numbers I got? I'm still hiding these streets. And but I equated to that though. I kind of equated to that. They just it made Isaiah Land feel, because again, and I'm talking more about Isaiah. When Isaiah Land came out of high school, he had one scholarship offer, Florida A&M. So he didn't get to go through the recruiting process. He didn't get to take 5 official visits. He didn't get wine and dine. He did that for one place and one place only. That was us. And so when he entered the portal, well, imagine how a kid feels who had one offer, and then you enter the portal and the University of Texas calls you, and then the University of Georgia calls you, and then LSU calls you and says, we'll bring you on a visit. Like, it just makes you feel good that, you know what, I am wanted, but I know where I had my foundation. And that's why he came back, because he understood where his foundation was. And so again, I just, you know, I tried, and I'm probably different than many coaches across the country. And I had this conversation with my staff 2 days ago, that the way I run my program is probably different than a lot of coaches run their program, because my number one job is to develop young men. More than anything I do, my number one job is to develop young men. Young guys are going to make rash decisions. Young guys are going to make bad decisions. Young guys are going to make terrible decisions, as we all see, right? But I still love on them, and I still have a job to coach them, to teach them, to mentor them, to do everything I can to give them a chance to be successful. And my flaw and fault as a coach is that I try to save them all. I will give you as much rope to hang yourself with as you can. And when you run out of that rope, I'm going to find something to give you some more, because I want that. I just happen to grow up in one of the most impoverished counties in the state of Florida. The only county in the state of Florida of 67 where we're the majority is Gadsden County, Florida. And I saw many of my teammates that I played little league ball with, middle school ball with, even high school ball with, fall by the wayside. I want to do my best to make sure that that's not the story of a guy that plays for me. And so, yes, sometimes maybe I do give him too many chances. But I don't want that to be the story that, you know, you make one mistake at FAM and you're done. Like, that's not how we started. Because how many of us are sitting here today because FAMU didn't give up on us? Because we came here from that small town or that small school and didn't know anything, and got to the House of 7 Hills and lost our natural minds for a semester and failed about all our classes. But they did not kick us out. They gave us a chance, and we finally figured it out, and then we graduated and we went on to do great things. Dr. Hudson tells that story all the time. And now he's the vice president of academic affairs and so student affairs. And so I think sometimes we lose sight of that. Sometimes we lose sight of the fact that we are in this push to be a top 100 school. We are in this push to be a R1 research institution. We're in this push to be one of the elite institutions in all of America. Founded for that student that maybe couldn't get into that other school because their GPA was just a point too low, or that GPA or that test score was maybe a point too low. But they're brilliant, they're talented, they're gifted. They just had a challenge along the way that cost them to have a bad semester in high school. FAMU for a long time gave that kid a chance, and they made greatness. And I want to be that same coach that gives that guy a chance. Nobody saw Isaiah Land for what he really was. They saw a scrawny, 6'4", 180-pound defensive end, said he's too small to play college football, major college football. We saw a guy with great work ethic, determination, and grit, and now he's with the Dallas Cowboys. And as long as we keep that at the top of our minds, I think we're going to be fine. Last question. All right, boss. Well, I think that's I don't think it stops at the draft. Of course, boss's question was about the perception of HBCU players as far as NFL draft. I don't think it stops at the draft. There's no denying that there's a shortage of opportunities for minority coaches in the National Football League, head football coaches. Of the 32 teams, I don't know the exact number now, but I think there's 3, something like that. I think last year there was 1. I think in the year before, 2 coaches got fired after their first year. And so I think it's just an issue across the board that's got to be addressed, that, you know, the old saying, we got to be twice as good to get half as much. I think that applies at that level. I think our players have to be twice as good. You know, I think Isaiah Land was expected to have another double-digit sack season. You know, maybe if he had 19 more sacks like he had the year before, maybe he gets drafted. But because he had some injuries, he had to sit a game for the certification stuff. And instead of playing 11 games or 12 like he played the year before, he only played in 7. And, of course, he's on the focal point of every other team, so his sack totals went down to, I think, 10 or 9 or something like that. So maybe that was why. You know, maybe Marquise Bell had to run a 4.3 as opposed to running a 4.4 at the combine. You know, so again, that's just I think it's something that we're continuing to fight, and I think it's nationally. I think the NFL, because of our love for football and how much of on the national stage it is, but I think this is a national issue that we're all facing, because some of us should be in higher places than we are in our professions. And we have been overlooked by people that don't look like us, right? And so we know what's going on nationally now or even in this state. And I think a lot of that's, you know, indicative of and I think the NFL is just kind of a microcosm of what we're facing as minorities in this country. So we're going to continue to fight the good fight. You know, we're going to continue to do what we can. But, you know, we can complain about it. We can sit down and whatever, or we can go to work. And for us, our guys are going to go to work. So somebody's going to be the first player drafted from FAMU in a while. Somebody's got to do it. So we're not going to keep saying, oh, well, they're overlooking our guys, because if Marquise Bell continues to play at a high level, Xavier Land makes the team and plays at a high level, if Xavier Smith can make the team, and at that point, they got to say, you know what? They're playing football pretty good at FAMU. So we might want to draft these guys before we allow them, because what happens in free agency, a player gets to choose where he goes. As opposed to being drafted, now the team owns your rights. So there are a lot of teams that are going to wish they drafted Isaiah Land instead of letting him choose the Cowboys. A lot of teams are going to wish they drafted Marquise Bell instead of allowing him to choose the Cowboys, because that was a great situation for him. So we'll keep fighting and doing that, and we'll eventually get a guy in. But again, in the meantime, you know, we're laser focused on this football season. It's going to be an amazing season. Again, I've never been this excited about a team. I mean, just the talent. Again, we got some stuff to address, but I've never been this excited. Uh-oh. Yeah. Well, again, one thing, and like I said, Miss Shannon's the educator in Gadsden County for a while. And of course, like I said, her road dog was my mom, who was an educator in Gadsden County. So One thing about us, you better not get on the TV talking crazy and think you're gonna come home to Willie Simmons' house. So, but I'm thankful to be raised by an educator who was educated right here on the House of Seven Hills, and just who instilled in us the importance of education and the importance of keeping our name with what it is. So again, just a blessing. And every time I grab the mic or do whatever, like I said, I take it with FAMU in mind, because I know I represent the greatest institution in the world. And again, that's my charge, to continue to lead these young men to great heights. And like I said, even when they disappoint us, we're gonna love them up anyway and continue to grow with them. So appreciate y'all's support. Get your tickets this season. Let's go get a championship. Go Rattlers.
Coach, of all the things you said today, I mostly identify with not being able to get NIL money when I was playing. Somebody wants to Melvin Bell wants to interview you, Coach. Yes, okay. Remember next week, the cooling facility, the nutrition dollars, and come early. We expect a very large crowd. Okay. All right.
Daddy, I'm gonna text you how to listen to my show so you could hear back all the stuff that I